Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be changing the battery cables on my Capri. So for years I've ran cables that I just made up. They was basically welding cables that I used, put ends on, and that's what I ran for battery cables for a long time. And so I finally decided that I wanted to go back with a factory look. Even though the car's, kind of it's a head cam intake bolt on car. I want to go back with a factory look, and this is part of that process. There's a few other things I got to do to underneath the hood to give it a factory look with a racier looking engine. But for right now, I want to put Motorcraft battery cables. Now, the battery cables I picked up off of Rock Auto, and they are Motorcraft, and they are probably half the price of what you'll pay from LMR, CJ Pony Parts, MPD. And there's nothing against those guys. I buy a lot of stuff from those guys. But my good buddy Bob Goodson at Purist Motorsports, check out his channel. Really good channel. This dude does a lot of saline stuff. He's the one that turned me on to Rock Auto and the battery cables. So I was at his shop here. It's probably been a month and a half, probably about 2 months ago or so. And I ordered them in his shop because I was like, holy crap, that's like half the price. And they're the nice Motorcraft cables. I'm going to flip you around and I'll show you. So there's my battery I picked up from the Ford dealership. If you're curious, it's a Group 65. All right, here's the cables. So you got E7SZ, and then on this one, E8ZZ. So these are, if you're doing like a restoration on a Foxbody and you're trying to get the correct part number cable that is still the shows will allow, I guess you could say, these are the replacement cables. So the 86 cars are different. They don't make those cables anymore. So as far as the 86 part numbers, but here you go. You look right there. It's got the correct ends on it. I'm gonna try to do this one-handed, and I'll pull this cable out. You know, I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and it always bugs me when somebody's working with one hand, holding the camera with the other, and here I am doing it. So there you go. Julian Electric, part number E8ZZ, Rev A1. This is the cable that if you was doing a restoration, this is the cable you would use. Here's the cable. Here's the ground that I had on here. You have to overlook this end. I was in a pinch and I had to do something, and I had these right here lying around, so that's what I used. It did have this style of end on it right here. So this is my hot cable that I made up. Still, I mean, it's still a good cable. You know, this is what gauge is this? 4 gauge, so it's plenty good for a battery cable. And you know, my car has the high torque starter on it and stuff, and it has 0 issues. Spinning this thing was spin over. I mean, it does great. So anyhow, I'm going to attempt, I don't have a real big tripod, I just got that little bitty guy right there, so I'm going to attempt to build up something to set the tripod on and install these cables and let you guys see what I'm going to do. Also, one more thing, hit me up in the comments. So I'm going to mount the ground on the timing chain cover where a mechanical fuel pump would normally mount on these cars. Everything that I've seen, I've looked, I've tried to find pictures of factory engines. Everything that I see, that's where the ground cable is bolted to on these cars from factory. If I'm wrong, and if somebody has more insight to that, please tell me, because I want to hook everything up factory, so to speak. And it don't matter. I mean, this car's not a show car. This car is rough. It's in pretty good shape to be for something that's been beat on all its life. But still pretty rough. So anyhow, if you think it goes somewhere else, let me know in the comments, and I'll check it out, and I'll move it if I have to. I mean, like I said, it's, to me it don't really matter. I want to put it in a correct location, just because I get kind of anal about some things like that. So anyhow, I'm going to stop you. I'm going to get you set up, and I'm going to start working. All right. I hope this ain't cutting off half my head. I kind of lined it up. Seemed like it's lined up pretty good. Um, so, all right. Well, this isn't rocket science. So this is basically putting on battery cables. So the only thing I want to do is try to make sure that I'm getting them lined up in the correct spot, and that they're lined up right, that they're nice and even. Guys, this is little stuff that I like to do whenever I get time and get the motivation. This is stuff that I think makes a difference on the look of a car. I mean, you know, it's not going to add any value to it. It's not going to, you know, it's not going to win you any shows or any of that stuff. But to me, there's something just very satisfying about opening up the hood of a car and you see how everything looks original and neat. And I mean, it's just good to see. To me, it's just nice to see stuff like that. I like to, when I go to car shows and I look at these cars, you know, I like to look at the kind of detail that went into building them. You know, are these people throwing stuff together, or are they just, you know, just kind of like, we'll just throw it together, or are they taking time and doing the detail work? And I tell you, there's a couple guys that I've not really met in person. I follow them on social media. Well, I met one of them in person, but looking at their cars, and you see the detail that went into them. One guy's Mike Clay, who has the baby blue Cobra. Man, I tell you, that is one of the nicest Fox bodies you will ever see. The detail that went into that car, and when you watch him like on Instagram and stuff, how much work he puts into cleaning those cars, man, that's super nice work. Another guy is Brian Prince. His 85, 86 GT that has the Coyote swap in it. Man, he's put a lot of work in that car. You know, he has pictures that he's posted that's had the before and after when he first bought it, what it looks like now. And you know, that's somebody else who you could tell takes pride in their work, and they take pride in what they do. You know, there's a bunch of guys out there. Probably one of the nicest, cleanest cars that I've seen is Bob Goodson's SA10, and it's, I think the name of it is Almost 4 or something. I forgot. That Bob's gonna kill me for not remembering the name of the car. But it's a sailing car that was in line to be sold as one of the SA10 cars, and for whatever reason it didn't. You know, the sale never happened. But he was able to track down the actual car that was supposed to be built in that spot, and then he built it the way he wanted to build it. And that car is unbelievable, the detail work he has done on that car. And and that's just the kind of, Bob is a craftsman. When you see the work he does, the guy is a craftsman, really good at what he does. Anyhow, I'm going to get this ground cable on and get working here. This is the wires for the Holly Terminator, and This is one of the ground wires. You can see I'm using a 1/4-inch drive setup. There's a reason for that. I don't want to put a lot of torque on this stuff. There's no reason to over tighten this stuff. I mean, you snug it up. I mean, you don't have to crank on it, especially on the solenoid. I've broke these things in half before when I was young, just not knowing. I mean, just cranking on it. Next thing you know, pop, hit brakes. And so, you know, and especially if you're putting a bolt into like your actual timing cover. Timing cover's made out of aluminum, and where that bolt's going is right on the corner, so, or it's right on the edge. So you over tighten that and break that off. I mean, it's probably not going to hurt anything other than the looks of it, but it's just not necessary. Just don't over tighten stuff. Snug it up, and you're good to go. Sure where that slips into place. Imagine this cable here, here, so, there, let's try right there. Alright, and this ground cable, I don't know if you guys can see that good, but this plugs into the factory ground cable on the factory engine harness that comes to the firewall from the computer and comes over. There's normally a little receptacle right here, I guess you could call it, that screws into the firewall. Well, part of that snaps into here is part of the ground, the pigtail that comes off of that. So whenever you take off the ground cable, you can just unplug it and everything comes out, even though it does have that on it, which will go in that place right there. That's going to be a 8mm for those that don't know. So far, the only sizes that I've really had to use is a 12, 13, and 8. So I mean, to do this, you don't have to have a lot of tools. So now I don't need this anymore because that's taking its place. battery back in and get the cables on. God, that looks so much better. So before I tighten everything down, I'm going to have to rerun my Holley stuff, figure out how I'm wanting to. So the dilemma I was in before when I ran the Holley Terminator wires was, do I run them over the battery handle or underneath it? And at the time I chose to go over because the bolts were on the outside. Well, this time I'm going to run it underneath because the bolts are on the inside. To me, it just makes sense to do that. For those that's wondering, that wire right there, the reason I was touching it off, I kind of forgot on whether or not that was the a ground or another wire, and it's the wire for the fuel pump relay. I hope. We'll find out once I get it on there. Something shorts out. Now, I had pictures I can go back and reference. What size that's going to be? It's probably going to be 12. Interesting, 13. 13 will work. Sorry that I'm only talking to myself. Now, as you can see, I'm not over tightening these battery cables. If you guys have ever looked at a set of battery cables where the ends are like closed up, that's because somebody has cranked on them and cranked on them and cranked on them. Remember, this is lead. Lead will bend, all right? It's very formable, I guess you could say. So once you start to crank on those, once they start to go in, you're good. As long as your cable, if the cable moves, then snug a little more, but these cables are solid. All right, just keep that in mind whenever you're doing battery cables. The battery cables up here is that you do not want to just sit there and just, because you'll end up junking a nice set of cable ends. So it's not necessary. All right. Get you guys flipped around, show you the finished product. All right, so there is that. See, it comes over to there. Comes over. That's got a little plastic, one of those little plastic push pins down there that pushes in. Got that on. I don't know if you can see. Let me get the camera down. See the end right there? That's where that goes. So hopefully everything's going to be good. So I'm getting here, turn the key on, and hope nothing's shorted out. Let me set you back up and we'll see. Alright, the key's on. Nothing shorted anywhere. I think we're good. Let's see if it'll crank. Oh. Helps if it's got power to the coil. See if it cranks now. It works like a champ. Now there's guys out there like Matt over at Beach Motorsports who can tune the idle air control, the Ford idle air control. They're really good. I'm not. To me, this works out way better than the Ford idle air control. Those guys are, you know, I don't blame them. Anyhow, everything's good. Nothing's hot. That means that you have nice current flow. There's nothing shorted out anywhere. So I always check these ends right here because I don't know how they build these factories. Everything feels good. We gotta get this cable right here out of the way. Get that factory ground out and be good to go. Alright. Well, guys, this has been another video. It's probably going to be a long video, but that's fine. I'll probably go in and maybe try to cut some of it out or whatever. Anyhow, thanks for watching. You know, I said this before in one of my earlier videos. If you like anything that I'm doing, you know, comment, tell me. The more people that I can get to watch the videos and subscribe to the channel, the better it'll make it, or the more motivation I'll get to make more videos. And there's a ton of Mustang guys out there doing with the whole channels, the YouTube channels. I'm not trying to make money off this. I just want to share stuff that I do. You know, you got a lot of guys out there that are doing good work, and I'll let those guys, you know, try to make all the money they can doing it. For me, I just want to make videos that I think somebody could watch and say, hey, that helped me out. Because, you know, that's what I look for whenever I watch a video is, can that help me out? Is that something I can use on my own car, my own knowledge? You know, I mean, we could all learn, right? So anyhow, if you like what I do, comment, tell me. If you see something I do wrong, tell me. Subscribe, share the videos if you like them. You know, you never know, they may help somebody else down the road. Anyhow, that's all I have for now. So until the next one, peace.